Behold, the Darkhold.
What's going on, everybody? Here we are again with another video on WandaVision. Holy shit. I don't know if I'll ever do any of these again, but we gotta finish out strong, and we're at the semifinals. Literally the semifinal. This is the episode before the end of it all, so we're going out strong. So I know I'm kind of late on this episode. I know that I'm probably the last dude that's even talking about this episode on YouTube right now, because people got their episode reviews out like a day before the episode even aired, because what? But I gotta say, I gotta be honest with you guys, after last week's episode, after what I said was kind of going back downhill for me, and I was like, are they gonna pull this together, whatever, I still have some apprehensions, I still have some fears, but I loved this episode. I absolutely fucking loved this episode. But the Halloween episode, I think that's still my favorite episode, and this is my second favorite episode. So I gotta say, little pat on my big dome back, I was right. It's a flashback episode. I was like 90% sure, man. There was a 10% chance, but I was 90% like, this is going to be a flashback episode. This is going to be the exposition episode, because there was so much there that was not told. There were so many questions. There was so much they had to wrap up, and there's only 2 episodes left. So how do you do that? You dedicate one of those episodes, hopefully an hour long. Still wasn't, but it was longer. I'll take what we can get, and you fill it with exposition. You answer almost every single question that the audience has, while also giving them a few new ones. Now, I do have to admit, it is kind of hypocritical of me to love this episode and hate episode 4, because they're both exposition episodes. They're both kind of catching people up to that point. But what I think this episode did so much better than episode 4 was this gave us new information, and this furthered the story of the MCU. This is what I've been talking about since, I guess, just last episode. But I was over the sitcom stuff. I got over this TV show stuff. I was over all that bullshit. I wanted the story to further. I wanted the MCU's story to progress. And this episode finally did that. And I loved it. I dug how the entire episode wasn't a flashback. It wasn't just like telling Agatha's story or Wanda's story all the way up to there. It was a mix of everything. It was putting so many more puzzle pieces together in Wanda's life and the journey that she's gone through, while also giving us kind of more of an insight on what Agatha's intentions are and what she wants with her. It also answered that, Agatha is not the one behind the hex. She didn't create it. She just stumbled upon it after sensing the crazy amount of power that was there, and has kind of been infiltrating, trying to learn more about Wanda, because I think that Agatha is the shark from that Yo Magic commercial, where the shark goes, when I get hungry, I feed on Yo Magic. I think that's Agatha. Agatha is the one feasting on Wanda's magic. When Agatha's hungry, or when Agatha wants to grow with more power, she needs to feed on power. And as of right now, Wanda's the most powerful witch there is, which, by the way, we gotta talk about witches. It was confirmed that Agatha was a witch in the Salem witch trials, which, could there be some new Salem stuff going on in the Marvel comics where they kind of set up a new version of Salem? Who knows? I kind of thought that could have been a theory going into this, that Westview was going to be the new Salem. I don't think it is, because we got confirmation that Westview is just a normal town that was probably prospering and thriving before Thanos jazz snapped everything away. I think that they furthered Agatha's character at just the right amount, at just the right pace, while they really deepened Wanda's character and really gave her so many new layers, which, as of this episode, Wanda's one of my favorite characters in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe now. I am so excited to see what they do with her character next and where they take it, because we know she's going into Multiverse of Madness in the Doctor Strange sequel, so there's going to be more Wanda Maximoff. And I have to admit that this was the heaviest, most emotional episode so far. And the way the writers were able to tie everything together, every aspect of her life. We know what her backstory is from Age of Ultron. We know that her and Pietro were with their parents when their street or their apartment building got knocked down from a bomb or a missile, and then right in front of them she got to see Stark's name on it, and she knew then that's where her hatred for Tony Stark grew, because he was the one behind the death of her parents. It was really cool to see that scene played out in the MCU, because we've only ever seen that scene told to us, but to see the visual was crazy, and the tie-in with the TV shows and the Dick Van Dyke Show and her dad trying to sell the DVDs but them not selling, and you see Malcolm in the Middle, you see Bewitched, you see I Love Lucy, like, you see all of it, and it's just, you know, we had our theories, and I had the theory going into it that these were all of the shows that she grew up with, maybe in Sokovia or in the Hydra headquarters while she was all locked up, but like, either way, these shows meant something to her, and that's why they were so clearly riffed on something. But to actually get that answer, and for it to be as emotional as it was, and for her to be hiding under the rubble and to look across and see the Dick Van Dyke Show in the rubble still playing, again, I don't think that's happening. If the missile's strong enough to blast through concrete walls and drop a building, that TV's not making it. But I'm willing to put logic aside for a second and stop being an ass because the emotional weight of it was really, really incredible. I loved that scene. But we get to touch on that a little bit more when we see her in the Hydra headquarters and they're bringing her out to go to Loki's scepter, and all the test subjects have died except for Wanda Maximoff. When she comes walking in and the Mind Stone goes full Ash Ketchum and goes, "I choose you," and we get one of the coolest moments ever when it breaks open and you see the Mind Stone looking right at her. The music's getting all uplifting and crazy. It's all in slow-mo. Her face looks wild, like she's just seeing God for the first time, which is kind of what happens because as she's looking up into it, we see the silhouette of the fucking Scarlet Witch coming down with the mask, with like the M-shaped masked forehead thing, coming down out of the Mind Stone, which was just an insane shot, like wallpaper worthy. I'm so glad that we're getting some more of those in the show, but I love that scene. And that begs the question, is that a premonition of the future, or is it the original or a past Scarlet Witch that she is seeing and kind of getting introduced to, this is what you are, who you are? My theory personally is it's the first thing that I said. I think it's more so a premonition of the future because I don't think that there has been a Scarlet Witch yet. I think that that mantle, that the Scarlet Witch is like a chosen one or someone that they speak of in legend, that eventually there will be this person. And what leads me to believe that is the shape of the Infinity Stone. When she sees the Infinity Stone, when she sees the Mind Stone in that shape, which is very reminiscent of Vision, and then she sees that being coming down, I think that we could possibly get confirmation in next week's episode, in the finale, if we see this scene of her in full Wanda Scarlet Witch Maximoff gear come floating all down omnisciently like this. I think that's confirmation that it was a premonition of the future, or we gotta wait and see that in Doctor Strange too. But it could be an older Scarlet Witch coming to, or kind of communicating with her in some way. Totally. I don't think so though. I'm gonna put my cards right now on it kind of being a premonition of the future a little bit. But quickly touching on the scene at the Avengers compound with her and Vision in her bedroom, and they're talking that whole conversation about grief. It was such a beautifully written and incredibly acted scene. I was so invested into it, and it was one of the times where I kind of got choked up a little bit watching this. And you're watching Wanda fresh out of Age of Ultron from the death of her brother Pietro, and you can tell that there is this connection, this bond between her and Vision, but she hasn't entirely opened yet, and Vision's trying to help, but he still doesn't really understand how to be human yet, which makes sense. And I know everyone's talking about it, so I'm not reporting on some groundbreaking shit here, but the part where Wanda's explaining to Vision how horrible she feels and how much she just wants him back. And Vision says the line, "What is grief if not love persevering?" And that is one of the most poetic lines I have ever heard in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What is grief if not love persevering? That's fucking beautiful. And if that wasn't a dagger in the heart enough, when we see her go to Sword and she clearly does not steal Vision's body like Hayward director douchebag led us to believe, which I think he's clear cut the bad guy now. There's no way he's not. Fuck that dude. Even if there's some big turnaround, fuck that dude. She goes back to her car after seeing Vision's mangled corpse and Sword, and there's a note in the car. And at first I thought, yo, is this Mephisto? Is this gonna be Mark Hamill coming as Mephisto? But I was like, is this somebody like, hey, I know how to bring him back. Meet me here, or you should do this. So she's driving. Also, I think it's funny that like the world's strongest Avenger drives a Buick. Come on, we could do better than that. Well, shit. Speaking of doing better than that, I just realized that my Twitch overlay, half of the overlay has been on this entire video. So shout out to all the usernames that got to be on the YouTube channel for an extended period amount of time. I hope that Nikki Poo with the $5 dono didn't distract you too much. Let me go ahead and just get rid of that real quick. All right, better. All right, so we're getting near the end of the episode. Honestly, I keep saying I'm not going to go beat for beat on these things, and yet I do every time. I can't help it. But basically, when she gets to the lot in Westview and we see her open up that note and it says, "For us to grow old in V with the heart," it broke me, man. That was one of the other times in the episode where I got super emotional and I was like, holy shit. Give this girl a break. For the love of God, give Wanda a fucking break. At this point, man, like, her entire life is a tragedy. Her entire life is a Shakespearean tragedy. And I wanted to reach through the screen and give this person a hug. This was a lot to go through in one episode. This was, again, the heaviest, most emotional episode by far. I love it the more that I talk about it. And then we get to see her create the hex. And, you know, it kind of goes down exactly how I guess you could theorize it would. I mean, she got to this breaking point. She snaps, and then just out of pure raw emotion and chaos magic, she creates the hex. Now, something I want to point out is we get to watch her create Vision. And when she creates Vision, all the red chaos magic is coming out of her. But when she creates Vision, it's this yellow magic that's coming out of her. It's this yellow color. It's kind of like the color of the Mind Stone, of the Infinity Stone. And we've known for a couple movies now that Wanda has a very specific connection with the Mind Stone, and she's kind of able to get a feel for it, or really feel Vision through it. Hence the "I feel you" line again. So when she's the one to kill Vision originally for the first time in Infinity War, who's to say that some of the Mind Stone's energy, if not Vision's consciousness, maybe was absorbed into Wanda, or somehow it was taken and put onto her, she carries it, or she was just given that power. And that's kind of the reason why she was able to put that power back into this new reality of hers, which then leads me to believe that this white Vision at the end of the episode, yeah, we gotta talk about white Vision, that now that we have a physical body, another physical manifestation of Vision, and we have his consciousness in this hex reality, I gotta say, I'm kind of putting all my marbles on the fact that Vision's consciousness is somehow going to be merged with the physical body outside of the hex, and that's how we're going to get Vision to continue going on in the story. So I'm curious to see what happens there. Is it just going to be a Vision on Vision evil fight? And also Paul Bettany, the actor that plays the Vision, always talking about getting to work with an actor that he's always wanted to work with at the end of the show. And now I'm really starting to believe, like everyone else on the internet, that that person he was talking about was himself, which Paul Bettany, you fucker. But yeah, guys, we finally get the Scarlet Witch name drop at the end. She says, "You are the Scarlet Witch. This is chaos magic." So I think this finally sets us up for the big finale this week, where we're going to see Wanda in her full Scarlet Witch clothes and her crazy battle armor that we see coming down in that Infinity Stone shot when she's in the Hydra compound. We're going to see them either fight or team up with Agatha. Again, I'm not sold that she's straight up a villain yet. She, in the comics, is like a mentor to Wanda, so who's to say they're not going to kind of pay homage to that route? She could be an ally, or she could just be a straight up dick. Who knows? But the reason why I'm not sold that it's Agatha is because now we've been introduced to the third party, which is like white evil Vision. So Agatha might team up with them to take them down and then teach Wanda how to use the chaos magic, or it might go down an entirely different way, because and by we, I mean I am always wrong, and I'm tired of speculating and theorizing at this point. Honestly, guys, when it comes to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think that I'm just gonna do open spoiler discussions on my Twitch channel, like the night after every Friday night, and we can all just talk about it over there as happy nerds. And then when the series is over, I'll do a series review here on the YouTube channel. I'm burnt on this WandaVision shit. I love it. It's a great show. I love the fucking show. I'm an MCU whore. I'm just tired. And speaking of being tired, it's time to wrap this episode up, guys. Let me know what you thought about WandaVision Episode 8 in the comments down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. No, but in all seriousness, there's 1,000 million things that we could be saying about the show right now. So let's just put them all in a couple sentences in the comments. Let me know what you think, because they're not going to do what I think they're going to do in this last episode. That's not how Kevin Feige rolls. But all right, guys. Adios.